Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Uncensored Anime Podcast, a podcast where we have uncensored takes on anime. And this is episode 35. And we have our hosts. I'm David. We got Kenny. We got Jerry. And we have a very special guest with us here today. You might hear his voice as Yona from Fire Force. You'll also see him hear him in No Guns Live. He's Orochi from Fairy Tail. And in many other anime, we have with us a very special voice actor from Funimation, Cory J. Phillips. Welcome, Corey. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
What applause.
An intro. What an intro. I was like,
yes.
Thank you.
So we're so happy to have you here today. Today's episode, for those of you that are listening, we're just going to be, just chatting it up with Corey, getting to know a little bit more about him, a little interview here and there, and just kind of go from there. And so, just Jerry, just kicking the shit.
Corey, tell us. I want you to tell the world first what you do on the internet / where they can find you, where people could find you on the internet. They want to follow your escapades or whatever it might be.
Oh man, Of course you asked the one that wasn't prepared. I was like, I've got the first thing down. But no, you can find me at Cory J Phillips, pretty much like / Cory J Phillips on anything, except I think one of them is like / Cory J Phillips 07 because I didn't get to the game in time.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm really active on TikTok. It's like the one thing I'm like the most famous on.
What do you do on TikTok? We don't mess with TikTok, so I'm like, what do people do over there?
I love it because it's I guess because I just developed a good relationship with TikTok as far as I have boundaries with TikTok. It's I'm not going to put a whole bunch of effort into this. I'm not going to
right.
It's just going to be as just my day to day and just stuff that I think is fun.
Okay.
And then I did the Dio challenge and that blew up. I did the Dio challenge. I did the Dio challenge with a whole show. You remember my shows.
Yeah.
And so it's 300 people or it's 200 people. 200 people in a room all just bending over backwards. Yeah. And then one kid in the very back eats it. And
oh my God.
So it just
hilarious.
blew up. And so
that's really funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And
man.
so Corey, okay, so those of us anyone who's listened to our podcast for a little bit, they know every time we have a guest on, we always open with the same question. And I always have to preface it to make sure everyone knows. So Corey, I want you to tell us a little bit about, and we're going to react to what your top 3 are, obviously, whether we think it's great, fantastic, or maybe we
garbage,
have other.
Garbage.
Right.
I'm going to throw one in. I'm going to throw one in that's complete and utter garbage, undeniably garbage. Just to see what you say to it.
Devil's advocate.
Two of them are going to be real. One of them is going to be a hot steaming pile.
Oh my God.
And I'm just going to see what your reaction is.
We got to hear. So yes, what are your top 3 favorite anime? And what I tell everyone
for you, sir. Currently or of all time?
I always say it's of the 3 favorite anime of all time for you. And it also, and the weird thing about this is I always like to preface it because sometimes people's favorite anime, they know that it's not good, but it's still their favorite. Yeah. So I always like to preface it. Sometimes that's the way it is. So you don't have to filter yourself. If you love trash, then that's what we want to hear.
Oh no, I'm unabashed. I unabashedly love trash. I still go back and watch the Yu-Gi-Oh dub.
Oh, I can respect that one.
That's good trash to watch.
Dan Green is
garbage. The first season is utter garbage. The show is garbage. The writing is terrible.
So bad.
It's so bad. Everything.
But it's a blast. But it's so funny.
It's so funny though.
Yes, it's such a good time. Yeah. Okay, Corey. So 3 favorite anime all time.
Number 1 all time favorite. So I'm just gonna start at the top of the list. Number 1 all time favorite. And I kind of judge my favorite animes by how many times I go back to them.
Right.
That's really if I'm watching something for comfort, then it's that obviously it has some thing with me. But Trigun all the way, number 1. Trigun. I've gone back and rewatched. I know it's not the best.
I think.
Yeah, you're the first guest to say it, but it doesn't surprise me. That's all I'll say.
Exactly.
It's all of my favorite things in one, which is it doesn't take itself super seriously.
Right.
Which is part of what it's post-apocalyptic, which is and Western. All of my favorite things in one IP, and so no lie, hands down.
You've got vigilantes, you've got mercenaries, you've got gun battles, swords, you've got I mean, everything's happening in a wasteland of ideas, and there's alien. There's literally everything you could want in Trigun.
Everything you can want, and it's all just like nothing is out of the realm of possibility. Like it's like you can do anything in that setting, and it's like, well, there's a dinosaur now, and there's nothing about the world.
There's a
that
dinosaur.
sets an expectation that couldn't be there. Like, well, yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's so freaking awesome.
This dude has a gun that's a saxophone.
Oh man!
All right,
and it works.
That's the kind of shit that gets you hyped up. You're like, oh fuck, like I'm so ready for it.
Yeah. So
it truly is. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, we have no critique. We all love Trigun. Honestly, it's like we love Trigun.
I've even got the gun. I had a prop maker buddy of mine make me the gun. I have Vash's gun. It's like right on the other side of the store,
dude.
Yeah.
That's so
okay.
Number 2 is Cowboy Bebop, obviously.
Okay.
Probably one of the greatest animes of all time.
Yes.
100% greatest anime of all time. Like it is hands down. It ends when it's supposed to. It does. Its writing and the cast is flawless. The performances are flawless.
Yeah.
The story is flawless. Like there's nothing wrong with it. And then the soundtrack makes it iconic. Like Tank is probably the most iconic anime open of all time, hands down. I don't care what anybody says. No one can argue with me.
Beautiful.
I think there could be an argument for Evangelion's intro, like
maybe more iconic, right?
Maybe, but Tank is Tank, and you can't
absolutely.
Space Lion gets me my feels all the time.
Oh yeah, the ending song, So Corey, does that mean you're excited for the Netflix live action version of Bebop?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely excited for it because I'm just tired of like going in with like negative expectations of shit. Like I'm just sort of fucking over it.
Like no.
Like the internet's so toxic, and so like I'm just so tired of like people just hating shit.
So
like
setting
that's
up
how
a
it
failure
goes.
instantly.
Like there's some things wrong with certain stuff. Like I went into like playing Cyberpunk 2077, like wanting to like it,
which the internet fucking hated. They hated it.
The internet just tore it apart.
Destroyed it.
Now, mind you, now that I played it, I also hate it.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least you gave it a chance.
Exactly.
I gave it a shot. Like I went in with like, I was like, I'm gonna give this every bit. Like I'm not gonna listen. Nothing. I want to like. I went in trying to like it, and still came out the other end being like, well, I'm never touching that again. Cool. All right, we're done.
Hey, but you gave it its fair chance, so that's what
gave
matters.
It its fair shot.
Hey, I'm excited to give Cowboy Bebop a fair chance as well. I think it could be good. So
the cast is good. They're not. They're not like egregiously. They're not whitewashing, but they're not like egregiously like Asian washing. As a Japanese man, I appreciate that. So I'm there for this.
I really think the cast was. I mean, I am a little interested about. Because to my understanding, Ed is not going to be in the show at all, potentially. At least they haven't openly announced a cast member for it. So I am curious what they're going to do with that, or if that's just they've decided to write Ed's character out. But I'm
honestly, if there's a character they could write out, it'd be his.
Yeah. That's the way I thought about it too. Or maybe they're setting it up that they're going to have multiple seasons.
Season 2. That's valid.
That's a definitely.
There's a lot of. The thing about animations, they can get away with like faster storytelling.
Yeah.
Right.
And on camera, like things are a lot slower. So,
the pacing's so
with
important.
And so they're probably I could see a season 2.
I'm definitely curious. But Cowboy Bebop, legendary anime. I do think we've had guests mention it before, and obviously the three of us are long time. I mean, we love. It's hard.
I felt kind of bad. I felt kind of bad putting it on the list because I knew it was going to be like a staple of the list. Like it literally is the king. It can't get taken down.
And it can. And it can be that way. Although I do know a guy who hates it. He can't stand it. He's a huge anime fan. Look at you. No, he hates Cowboy Bebop. He won't watch it. He's watched like 8 or 9 episodes and he gave up. And he just
is this a guy that like unironically orders grits at a restaurant?
Maybe.
He just is into flavorless shit.
Like, he just hates. It blew my mind. I kept saying, dude, I was like, you got to keep I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me because I was hooked from the beginning.
Goes to Cold Stone Creamery and gets vanilla ice cream. That's what that guy does.
What? I like vanilla.
So whatever it might be, I'm always surprised when people go into the show and don't end up liking it. But obviously,
The rest of the
Anyone
show is just
can
going to be
watch
trashing that dude.
That guy's done.
There you go.
Every once in a while, I'm just going to pepper him, just be trashing that
Damn it.
dude.
Damn it.
Honestly, he deserves it. He deserves
No,
it. So.
honestly,
I'll
definitely
play it, I'll play it.
worth a take to make. But okay, Corey. So number 3.
The third one is Metabots.
Oh, Metabots.
Wait,
Damn,
actually.
Damn, I just.
No,
oh my, that's crazy. I respect that. But I respect
Oh,
It's not.
geez.
That's the trash.
No, come on. We like
not.
Metabots.
Here's what.
No,
garbage.
Metabots.
You know what's
badass,
wild?
Okay.
Is I have great memories of Metabots. I do
I do too.
Really
I used to
good
have the
memories of it.
figurines and played the little
Yes.
shitty rolling dice game. Like,
Yes.
like we
And
even
then,
made up our own rules. If you got the dice on its side, like you know how
Yeah.
like it was like a little cylinder. If you got the dice on your side, that was metaphors, and you immediately did like max
Boom.
damage. Like, we had our own rules. And
Find your
shit.
Metabots, bro.
That's badass. And it's wild because I hadn't thought about Metabots in years. And recently, one of my favorite YouTubers did a YouTube video about it, about Metabots. And it's like a 20-minute expose about why we all are underestimating Metabots, why it's a classic and a legend. So I remember watching that, and I was like, I guess Metabots was a classic and a legend. I was like, how did I forget about this? No,
It's not. It's so not. Like, okay, so the thing is like, was he reviewing the Japanese version of it?
He was
not?
he was talking about both
The
forms,
dub?
but a lot of what he talks about in the video is mainly about how a lot of the animators and directors that worked on that show went on to be legends. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like this early form of like people who were, they were working on Metabots and they were just scrubs. They were just guys getting in animation, whatever it is. But now they've all gone on to direct successful anime movies, anime TV shows. They've been involved
but
in all
I
sorts
go
of
back and
stuff,
look
but-
at stuff I did in my early career, and I still cringe.
Yeah.
Like, that's not.
Oh, yeah.
That's not,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It is-
You still
Yeah.
start by producing.
It's
And
probably
not-
objectively pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's really the really reason that I'm like I was
Mm-hmm.
I was saying that one of mine was going to be trash and it's Metabots. It's not because of any particular thing with like the animation,
Right.
or like even the overarching story is not
Right.
horrible. It's the
not- yeah.
dialogue. It's the like you go back and watch that show. I couldn't make it through an episode.
Oh my
Because
god.
the
Oh,
dialogue is so stilted. The
Yeah.
performances are as cringy can be. Especially Metabees, in my opinion, because they were trying to
No.
go for like you could
The
very
robot
obviously
thing,
tell
weren't they?
some exec was like, you know what he needs? He needs to be urban. He needs to be cool
Yeah.
and hip. And then they're like,
I
you
forgot
got
about
this voice
that.
actor to do his dead level best,
Yeah.
trying to
Just
make him
tried it,
urban
probably.
and cool, and it's awful. It's just such trash. It's so
I've got to
bad.
rewatch stuff. Now that you
I'm
talk
about to say,
about
I have
it,
not seen it. Yeah.
I haven't
I-
seen it in like 10, 15 years. It's been forever since I watched Metabots.
Yeah, I watched it recently. I went back because it was on like it was on YouTube. I found like all episodes are like on YouTube,
Oh,
and I was like,
wow.
oh heck yeah! I used to love Metabots, and I watched the first episode. I was like,
You're like, what the fuck was
Yeah.
that?
oh, apparently as a child I didn't have taste. Nice.
Apparently this was done,
Yeah.
dude. But that's still cool. It's still cool. Like I always talk about how one of my favorite anime is Saint Seiya. I don't know if you know anything about that one.
Oh, Saint
Which-
Seiya.
Yeah, yes, dude. So like for me, it's I get it that it is not much more than just like a basic shonen brawler. There's really not any high level character development. There's just people transforming and beating each other up and doing special moves. But like for me, like I still love that show. It looks like it's from the 70s or whenever it was 80s, whenever it came out. It looks like it still, but I still love it. Like every time
It's
I
so
put it back
good.
on, I can't stop watching. Like that's just one of those shows. So I think it's okay to like a little bit of trash. And David's favorite, David, what's your favorite anime? Isn't it
I think it's called Vampire Night.
Yeah.
Vampire Night?
If I remember
think it's
correctly,
called
I
Vampire
believe
Night.
it's called
Corey-
Vampire Night.
Corey,
Welcome to the Vampire Night podcast, where we all love Vampire Night here. It is the Vampire Night podcast once again.
No,
Corey's so
not
confused.
Vampire
He's like,
Night.
what the fuck is that?
No, I know Vampire Night. I'm just like,
Oh.
well, it's more of a question. I've seen it.
I'm
yeah.
happy you know it. I'm happy
Okay,
you know
all right,
it.
okay.
So
I watched like 3 episodes and was like, I'm not interested.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
not.
Watching.
It's
David,
hard.
explain.
It's hard to watch.
Explain
I-
yourself, David.
Well,
Yeah, it's
so
rough.
Vampire Night was just the first manga I've ever read, and that's actually Jerry. The first time we met, he caught me reading Vampire Night. It was like,
Yeah.
reading Vampire Night, and that was before I knew. That was like before I knew what was bad and what was good. Like I just knew like Dragon Ball Z and like Sailor Moon. It was like, oh, I've never heard of this Vampire Night. I like vampires, and so they always.
You know what? I
give
get
me
you.
shit
I get
for
you.
it.
I have an equivalent one. It's kind of like your introductory is you're always gonna have a special place for your introduction to something.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone's first Doctor in Doctor Who is always their favorite. And I have an anime just like that because the first true to form anime that I ever like got to read and watch was Initial D, and Initial D is trash.
Oh, yes. That's funny.
What do you mean? Initial D just released a brand new movie, Fast 9. Come on.
No, they did not. Shut up, I'm kidding.
If you break down what Initial D is, it's just a bunch of dudes. Like if you really, I love the best thing about Initial D is that if you really take away all the beautiful animation, it's a bunch of like insane dudes standing on the sides of roads, commenting to themselves, not watching racing. Because the race only happens for like by them for like a second. And then the rest of the time, they have no fucking clue what's happening. Like they can't see down the mountain to see what's going on. It's the dead of night. And these, and so they don't know. So they're just like... He's using 0-point turning.
Yeah, he's using. Yo, that's crazy.
His tires are so strong.
Yeah, that's a real moment in the show. He's like, he used the gutter, and they're like, oh, like a whole group of them are like freaking out about it.
That's wild. I always thought
I need to watch this show now.
Initial D is not. It's not aged well. Is all I'll say. I feel like when it came out, like I was into it, but now it's like, yeah, that show has not kept up with it. Yeah, it's whatever. But that's a good one too. There's a restaurant here around us that actually has like Initial D like all over the walls.
Yeah,
that's like part of their theming
of
their. Yes, I was like, so I was like, this is crazy because I was like, why? I walked in. They got Initial D all over the place. I was like, what's going on in here? It was very weird, but well, this is great. So Corey, top 3 anime, wonderful choices. We have no disrespect towards Metabots, even though you're right. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, basically we are going to let you switch it, right? Metabots is 3.
I can actually put the real one in.
You sealed it in. Yeah, you sealed in. Metabots is number 3. So
well, then my fourth is My Hero.
Oh, okay.
Now, Corey, have you not done a little bit of work for My Hero? Yeah, that's what I thought. Right? Okay. That's what I thought. So that's really fantastic.
And I liked it before I was in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I assumed,
that's probably my favorite Funimation IP that they've gotten in recent years. Because like they had their golden age, which was like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun and like that whole age of like show acquisition. But they acquired My Hero, and I hadn't seen it. I hadn't heard anything about it. The only reason I knew it was going to be big was because I heard behind the scenes, because I was working for Funimation when they acquired My Hero.
Okay, yeah.
And they were like, we put all our eggs in this basket. Because like whenever an anime IP comes to the States, like all the major companies make bids on it.
Right.
And whoever's bid along with relationships, and there's a lot of like pomp and circumstance that comes with IP acquisitions or the acquisitions. But they like apparently put all their eggs in that basket. They're like, we're taking a huge risk on getting the show. And so I was like, well, now I want to know what the show is about. And so I went and watched it, and I was like, I get it.
Yes.
Like episode 2, I was like, well, now I'm addicted.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's crazy because like I have such a weird experience with My Hero, and it's we all 3 are fans. I'm the only one who doesn't. They both are caught up on the manga. I only stick with I just watch the anime, so I'm a little behind them. You're also caught up in the manga.
Wait, did you read the most recent chapter, Corey?
I feel like
I have not. I do them in 10s because I get real annoyed waiting.
That's
a week. So what I do is I do them in clumps of 10. So I wait for 10
That's
to get
smart.
backlogged, and then I'll read because I just get like I can't just sit there for 15 minutes, read through a chapter, and be like, well, that's enough. Like that's not how it works.
Me neither, but sometimes it's just what I have to do, right? I just have to accept that that's all I'm gonna get, right?
That's like me.
I get my 17.
I went through my week by week with Naruto, and I stuck it out to the end.
Yep.
So I've done it. I've done that. I'm not doing it again.
Not anymore, right?
The constant cliffhangers, it gets to you.
It just gets you after a while.
And those of us on the perpetual One Piece weekly grind that's never going to end forever.
It'll never end.
That's what we're
One
stuck
Piece.
on.
Anime purgatory. That is your anime purgatory.
I read it every Sunday morning without fail at the same time, no matter what.
Yes, me too. I've been reading it like that for now 15 years at this point.
It's now we get like the extra Sunday off because Oda always does one a month. Like it is just easily transitioned into me forever reading that manga.
What's wild? So me and Kenny, we're brothers, by the way. I don't know if you can tell.
No relation. I don't know him.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if it's clicked, but so Kenny and I, many years ago, before
I thought you guys were related.
No,
we're brothers, Jerry.
Me and Kenny,
me
and Kenny, many years ago, we were attending an Akon actually, and this is after My Hero had come out as a manga, but the anime hadn't aired yet.
I think Kenny, like 25 chapters were out.
Kenny looks at me and he's like, Jerry, trust me, years from now, everyone's gonna be dressed up as My Hero characters. And I said, what? I was like, what? I was like, what is this thing you're reading? Why are you acting like
we found one stand selling some stickers.
Yeah, that was it.
No
one else knew.
Nothing else. My Hero was non-existent.
And then it was like a year or two later, and you couldn't walk. You couldn't look any direction in a con or one of these big cons without seeing cosplays, prints, figures. I mean, My Hero. So Funimation was smart. They knew exactly what the hell they were doing. They did. When they said they put all their eggs in one basket. Hell yes, that
out of the park.
It was the one to go for, and that's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. But we love the show too, and some people have really harked on its latest season. I think some of my friends are not as satisfied with it as the show's gone on, but I think that this next part is going to really get them reignited about the series. Is what I've heard.
It's one of the best. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely, and we've talked about it a lot on the show. It's just like out of all of My Hero's story, this is like probably like the lowest point.
Right.
It's very slow, and it's like right before it gets you get that roller coaster, you get on that ride, and you just go straight up from here.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. I do have
an anime only.
I do have a criticism. I do have a criticism of My Hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I do have a criticism of it. I don't think they should have gotten rid of All Might as quickly as they did in the story. I think part of what
that's a hot criticism.
I think part of what made the story super compelling was the relationship between Midoriya and All Might.
Right.
Like, I think my two hottest takes about My Hero as a story is that get rid of Class 2B. They're completely and utterly unnecessary.
I agree.
Completely
I agree.
And utter, like every time they come up, I honestly want to skip chapters. Like I'm just like, I don't care about you. You're like, there's no, you should not be in this story at all. Oh I understand the idea. It's like, if it was a real high school, then there would be multiple classes, right? Yeah, I get that, but we don't need to see him.
Like class 1A has like 20 characters alone, so you don't need to
there's already 20 characters.
Yeah, an additional
develop
20
those
side
20 characters. Develop those 20 characters and keep All Might, because part of what's really compelling is seeing the changing of the guard. Like that was really what the story was for the first part, was the changing of the guard, where it's like you have All Might, which is believable Superman, the Superman that should be and is, and then Midoriya, which is this kid who has no natural born ability but has all of the drive and want, and then these two worlds colliding. And that was what the story's foundation was on, is this compelling of not being able to do it anymore and the new and up and coming, and then switching of the guard. And then once they just got rid of All Might, like, because that's what happens. Like even in the manga, he barely shows up anymore. And it's like, and all of that, like that relationship is just gone. And it's so hard to care about Midoriya now. Like it's so hard. Like I get that he's super powerful and shit and stuff's happening, but I just don't care as much as I did when he had that relationship with All Might constantly going back and forth. And I think they got rid of him too quickly.
No, I think that's actually, as much as it is kind of hot. Yeah. I've heard someone tell me before that they wish they had just killed All Might at the onset, just murdered him, just murked him right when it started.
No,
that would have been correct.
Opinion. That is a bad opinion.
That would have been bad.
I love All Might. So I'm like, no. But someone told me once they wish
they should have killed him. That's true. Like he definitely should die, and I would hate it. But story writing wise, yeah, that'd be way more compelling than him just sort of getting mitigated to the bench, which I guess is even sadder if you really think about it.
Yeah, he kind of just got backseated after a certain point.
He got benched so hard.
Go ahead, sit down, All Might.
Yeah, go drive the car and get my lunches. Come on.
Yeah.
No, don't.
Though I will say though, the way they benched him did make that moment where he like couldn't keep up with Midoriya anymore. The recent thing that's happened to everybody. Yeah, that was a super good moment, and it's like, Yep.
It was rough. Okay,
especially, but the fact is that
Kenny,
whenever he does that, I do think it's gonna hurt, bro.
Oh yeah, I mean, is it gonna be on Jiraiya levels of death if All Might does die in the story? Like, is that where the
I don't know.
The way that they're doing him now, it will not be, because we're not seeing him as much, and so we're disassociating, we're disconnecting.
Yeah.
Whenever Jiraiya died, Jiraiya was basically with Naruto every episode.
All the time.
He was with Naruto. Yep. You got to see him for a whole season. And then some.
Yeah.
But 2 seasons, 3 seasons. How long was he alive?
A long time.
3. Yeah. So you develop like this kind of cohesive, like codependent relationship with him and Naruto. Like those were the same characters. And then when they killed him, it's like,
shit.
It's a big moment for Naruto in that moment. So yeah, it does suck that what they've done with All Might, that if they do eventually kill him, it's not gonna. I'm scared as well, Corey, that it's not gonna hit the levels that it should have or that it could have had they maybe done it a little more tactfully or handled it more, managed it well. So I don't know. I think Horikoshi's trying his damnedest, but I do think there's some areas where he's still building world and he gets a little caught up. And like you said earlier,
really compelling though. I do have an idea for what would be really compelling.
Hey, if Horikoshi, if you're listening, Corey, I'm like, no.
What I think it'd be super cool, and I think it'd be really compelling if that so we're seeing him getting benched and he's not being able to keep up, and that causes this really dark for him to go to this super dark place, and so he starts seeking out ways to get his power back, and then that want eventually starts to corrupt him, and the final boss is not Shigaraki, it's All Might himself. And Midoriya has to kill All Might.
Yo,
oh my God.
That'd be dark. That'd be real dark. I'm like,
that would be a huge turn, though.
That's some Red Hood Batman level
stuff.
Yes,
dude.
And All Might's just trying to he wants to be a hero so desperately bad because he sees Midoriya and he's like, I remember when I had ideals, and then those ideals just start getting poisoned because and they're like, well, we can give you power if you take this drug. And then he starts getting hooked on.
Wait a second. Okay. Come on, we spun. Okay.
No, I want to see.
I'm out.
I want to watch it. I want to see that happen.
I would watch that. I would watch that.
I'd be sucked in, dude. I'd be right up there.
Imagine Midoriya having to put his fist through All Might's chest and he's punches through All Might and All Might's just looking at him
oh my God.
And Midoriya's just crying as he's looking at All Might that he had to kill before he killed everybody else.
Like some invincible level gore.
It's just the bloodiest shit you've ever seen.
And then you have All For One in the background being like, this is my plan all along. I knew you would eventually fall, All Might. I corrupted you. I got to you. And he's like, you got to me.
That'd be so wild.
That shit would be
the more I'm hearing about this, the more I need it.
Now I have to. Someone write.
Make it the plot of the next My Hero
letter.
Movie.
Yeah. That'd make for a great movie at least. What if story?
Man. I knew I could never defeat you in front, All Might, so I had to do it another way. Oh my God.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be so good.
So Corey, what I want to hear now, what is your
was that a sentence?
It was not. I'm like, what would you consider your anime origin story? I ask everyone. I've asked many of our other guests too this question. How do you feel because I know that at the very least on a professional level, you've been connected to the anime community for quite a bit of time. But I'm curious, where did it all start? How did you end up doing what you do? Tell the listeners how you got there.
That is such a bonkers and crazy, complicated answer. That's not a short story whatsoever.
Well,
that's what we like to hear.
And it's I can only see the threads that connected it, after the fact.
Right.
But yeah, the TLDR version is that I've always been kind of into anime. Like I'm Japanese. I'm half Japanese, so I kind of like I grew up with it in my family. Like I'm just like I'm part Japanese, and like my cousin would come every Christmas, and he would like bring anime, and that's how I got introduced to Initial D. And so I went to like a con in 2009, and that a friend invited me to, and I was like, what is this? What is a con? And so I went to a con, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what'd be great here? Improv. It's all the weird kids in a place trapped here. Yeah. So I should just start doing improv shows at cons. So then I just reached out to like a local con. It was like Tokyo and Tulsa.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm originally from Verdigris, Oklahoma. So Tokyo and Tulsa was like the close. Yeah. It's awesome.
We're all. This is also weird. We're all Oklahoma born as well. Yeah. We're not all there anymore, but we're all Oklahoma born. Yeah.
Nice. Verdigris, which is up by Claremore. So
yeah, we know where it is. Yes, correct. Yeah.
I know a girl from Claremore, actually.
Oh. Yeah. Well, there's like only 500 people in that entire city, so I probably know her.
Oh, weird. So you were Tokyo and Tulsa.
So we did our first like improv show at Tokyo and Tulsa, and the first show had 400 people in attendance, like 400 in our crowd.
That's pretty dope.
That's great.
Yeah.
Improv. You want to feel like a rock star as an improviser? Just do improv at a convention. It's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Like A-Kon has been our biggest crowd yet.
Yeah.
And I think it was A-Kon 2017. We had a show of 2,100. That was just our show.
Wow.
2,100 people in the audience. It was sick. It was sick.
That's
we had
insane.
J. Michael guest starred.
I think I was there. I think I watched this. I think I saw you do because J. Michael was there. He did it. He did improv with y'all. It was a massive ballroom.
Chuck Huber, massive
I'm
ballroom.
like 100% sure that I watched you do this performance.
I would not surprise me because that's like my crown jewel of like shows I've done.
I just remember being crammed into a massive ballroom with tons of people. My wife and I were seated on the far right near the back. It was like, woo! Like, this is awesome.
It was wild. It was wild. But yeah, so I started doing like improv shows at cons, and that's how I started meeting other guests, because I was like, man, you know, would really make these shows really cool, because my team is really good at improv, so we could make anybody look good. Right. Because we've been doing it for so long, and I just chose like the best improvisers I could find. And I was like, we should start getting the guests involved. So then I started approaching cons, like, hey, if the guests want to do this with us, we'll totally set them up for success and make them look like rock stars. And they're like, yeah. And so some guests were like super into it. And then I started producing my own content, my own like short films and stuff. Like I filmed a Doctor Who series, and we cast another voice actor, like another big name voice actor, which I can't name because I've told him I would never tell this origin story with his name, because I'll tell you why after the story. Why we kind of because I'll explain some weird part about the voice acting world. But yeah, so he's like, hey, have you ever thought about voice acting? And I was like, no, because there's none in Oklahoma, so of course not. I'm just all of my career had been on camera. And he's like, well, you should come down to Funimation and try it out. And I was like, cool. So I went down to Funimation and tried it out, and I loved it because it was super hard. It is like the Olympics. It's the Olympics of acting. Like straight up, it's the Olympics of acting. Dubbing is the hardest form of acting, hands down. Yeah. And so he was like, well, if you want to do more of this, you're gonna have to. You're probably gonna have to move here, because they need to be able to call you in a moment's notice. And I was like, cool. And in a year, I moved to Dallas.
Damn. So it was big. It was big deal. So once you did it, you were like, even though this is hard, I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and I've been looking to move to a new major city, because like, as you kind of go along in your career, like you eventually get to a point where you've done as much as you can do in that city. Right. So unless you're just happy with doing that level for the rest of your life, you have to eventually move to a bigger city and to a bigger market. So I was already at the point in my career where it's like I was looking to move to a bigger market, and this was just the excuse / push that I needed, because it was anime is an opportunity. Because if you can cut your teeth in anime, then you get to cut your teeth in video games, and if you can make it in video games, then you've made it for life. Like that's where the money's at.
Yep, that's what's wild. I feel like I've heard other voice actors talk about, like, if you do video games, there's just a lot of opportunity for voice actors to start doing a lot of work, but you get into that side of it. But it makes a lot of sense. So now you're in it. Are y'all still you're still doing improv? Are you still doing them?
Yeah. I just had a show. I recently booked another show. Because that's like my first acting love, so I'm never gonna stop doing that. I just taught a week-long intensive because now my improv troupe is 3 cities. We have a few members in LA, but our 2 biggest teams are Dallas and OKC. So there's OKC, and we just had this huge like crossover event where both teams came to Dallas here at the theater that I teach out of, and we all cross-trained for like 6 hours together.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your improv work has really helped you do voice work? I've heard that before, but I don't know what's the crossover of it, like how that works. But
because you well, let me explain to you something about dubbing. You have no idea what you're going to be doing before you do it.
Right.
Like when I got cast as Yona, I found out the day of. Like I showed up in the session. He's like, I showed up in the session, like, hey, you have a 2-hour-long session with Kyle in room, I think it was like 4 or 5, something like that. So I go into room 5 and Kyle's like, okay, you're going to be reading for Yona. He's kind of like this. Good luck. I had to make up a voice for this character in 5 minutes or less.
Woo!
Wow. And
did you get to see a picture of him at least? Did they at least show you
I got to see kind of like what he looked like, but that was it. And I had minutes
That's crazy.
of prep. And you got to be able to do that. And improv gives you every bit of the skill set to do those pinch decisions. And sometimes they have to rewrite the line then and there because they're like, it's not fitting. There's more flaps than there are words. And you just got to be able to handle all those adjustments. Like improv is a required tool of our trade, no matter what kind of acting you're doing.
I've heard that back and forth, but I never, as someone, David Kinney and I have all acted a little bit, but like in fun, we were all high school actors type of thing. Nothing serious, but it's definitely one of those things. And David was actually an improv troupe in college. But
we I don't know if we were going to bring that up. Nothing to talk about.
It's because it was a college improv. That's what
exactly.
Come on, synonymous.
It was fun. It was very fun, but like that was all it was.
It's a great place to catch the bug. That's kind of like no one expects
it's a nice creative space to just do whatever.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. You just feel it out, make all the mistakes.
Exactly.
I think that's such great insight because I think that a lot of times, and I'm really like I'm maybe making a broad overgeneralization, but maybe you can attest a little bit, Corey. But I know lots of people who are big fans of anime and they love watching anime. They love talking about anime, so on and so forth. They think, I'll just jump in, I'll just magically become a voice actor, and they think that there's not. I think that a lot of times they don't think there's great ways to practice or get ready. And I've always heard, you should go do stage. You should go to stage. And I always try to tell people, like, if you want to go try, like, you need to act first and foremost. And I just don't know I think it just goes in some guy's ears and out the other.
It does. It's so weird. It's so weird. If you didn't see, I had a physical, visceral reaction to that.
I know, yes.
Because
he was fading away into the bushes.
No, it's more like oh my gosh, like I have so much to say. Like, let me just pour this tea out. Like,
and I want to hear it because I think that a lot of people who want to be voice actors, they look on the internet, they find stuff like this, they need to hear some of this. And, they need to hear it, and they need to hear this.
That's the thing. It's like I want them to be voice actors. I desperately I love. Like I used to be like in my younger 20s, like I was like super threatened and like being like, oh, there's too many already in the what? I don't need more competition.
Right.
And I've over the years like eased off that so hard, which thank the Lord, thank God. But there still is this like really prevalent problem, which is like so many people want to be voice actors and they forget the actor part of it. And like I don't know why. Like, so let me explain. So this is a great segue to the thing that I left off of my story earlier, which is why he didn't tell me, or why he told me to not tell anybody how I did it, is because one of the things since I became a voice actor that all voice actors deal with and that I've been dealing with is the onslaught of people that want to be voice. Like, I've been a professional actor. I've been a full-time professional actor since 2015. I've been doing professional work since 2010. I've done mostly on camera. I've done movies with Lionsgate. Like, I've done some pretty decently good on camera stuff. No one ever asks me how to become an actor on camera, ever.
Right. Never.
I weekly get at least 5 to 10 messages about how to become a voice actor. And It's like people like whenever I announced that I like had done a Funimation thing and I was doing a Funimation thing, like I had people like coming out of the woodwork, like people that had like ghosted me, snubbed me, like people just came out of the swamp. Like this one,
what the fuck?
This one girl, like she snubbed me so hard when I met her at a con one time, like so hard, like so painfully hard, like it was just like that gut punch snubbing, like it's like oh. And then she's like, "Hey, we haven't talked in a while." And I was like,
bro. Get out of here.
No. And then she's like, "So I saw that you were with Funimation. I've been told that I could probably be a voice actor. I was wondering how do you get into voice acting?" And there's like hundreds of those messages.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And from all over the world, I get guys from just everywhere. They're like, "Hey, I see that you're in Funimation. I see you're in voice acting. I think I could do this." And every part of me is like, "Yeah, you probably could if you can handle that one part of the word, which is the actor part." Yeah, and so it's wild to me, like how, and I think it's because it's like it feels attainable, and the anonymity of it somehow I think gives this false impression that it has less pressure. Like the anonymity of like, I'm not going to be seen on camera. I don't have to be picture perfect or whatever their delusional idea of what Hollywood expects is. They think, and so and then like some of them is like, well, I do a good impression of Kermit. We'll get into that later.
No. Yeah, I think a lot of people and like as you're saying, like they don't think about the actor aspect of it, and I think some people with the anonymity, they're like, oh, like I just have to speak, I just have to have like a funny voice or a good voice, and I don't have to be like physical with it. And I feel like there's actually a lot of physicality when it comes to voice acting.
It's imperative. It informs the performance. If you're not moving in the booth, you will give a stilted, patterned read. 100% of the time, every single time. Like that's why this booth had to be 4x4, because when I started doing remote sessions and I started doing these things where I'm having to, like, I have to be able to like like if I take a standard effort where I get hit, I'm not just going like I'm putting my body into it, and you have to get that physical, and you don't learn those things. The acting part
comes into play.
That is that skill. When we went, do you go back to the booth, like have you recorded back on premises yet, or do you still just record at home? Is that like
I've been back in studio. I haven't been back in studio in a while because they are moving studios. So most of they kind of reserve the studios for the actors that can't do the remote recording.
Don't have it set
so
up.
If you
like
have
that.
Don't have the setup or don't have the technical ability, like it's just too hard for them. And so they generally reserve that for them. Gotcha. And then but when they started coming back, I went back a few times. But
okay, cool.
Yeah.
But do you think that a lot of your, it's just and this is just a weird COVID conversation now, but like I know for my career, I work in higher ed, and we have officially like, we had such a struggle doing what we did virtually for as long as we did. And, now that we're back, we're like, they're making us come back full. They felt like kids weren't getting the college experience, so on and so forth. But I have other friends who their job changed and it's never going back. They're virtual forever now. Their company or their group has just said, well, no, we're not doing that anymore this way, because look how effective we still were on a virtual scenario. So I don't know, how impacted you feel like the voiceover, I don't know what the voiceover.
Oh, I get what
community
you
mean. Voice acting industry,
I think it's fundamentally. I think in some ways it has changed the game.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. For me, it feels very, very scary and very daunting. I think for the viewers at large, for the people consuming anime, it's only going to be good, because what it's done is it has now made it to where I'm not just competing against Dallas actors anymore. I'm competing against LA, like one of the big guns that are just crushing it right now in the Funimation circuit is this guy by the name of Brent Mackay. And I met him in a class. He's based out of Las Vegas. Wow. Prior to COVID, he would not be working with Funimation. Like, unless you were from LA, You would not be. But because of COVID, it's like, and now he's just crushing. He's just doing a bunch of stuff with them. He's getting a bunch of roles, and he's good. Like, he's undeniably good.
Right.
And now it's like people that are undeniably good that don't live in the major hubs can have their shot.
Right.
Wow.
If they have the equipment. Now that's the caveat, and the downside is that now it's going to be like if the industry continues this way and we continue to keep everything like home recording, then that means that like in order to get into voice acting, it's going to be like a huge upfront cost. So like this microphone alone is like it's the industry standard. Like it's half the reason why I started working more with Funimation is because I bought this microphone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is the TLM 103, and that's a $1,200 mic.
Yeah.
That's cheap. That's easy money. That's one bite.
And it's like
I can go buy 3 right now. Let's go, Jay.
and on an actor's and for a big like I couldn't imagine buying this thing in my like when I started my career like I don't know if I could have afforded this out like starting out my career. Now I'm not saying that you like you have to like one of the things I have to tell a lot of voice actors that are like legitimate and like wanting to get started is like get something like a Rode NT1, a Blue Yeti, like get something because then you can start getting your reps on smaller projects, indie projects, and then you start like grinding those out, and then you get your rep and your demo together, and then you can start like, and then progressively as you go along you're upgrading, which is why I built this booth. It's not a professional like as far as like I didn't buy a booth kit. I built. Me and my father built like 4 walls, and I was like, I'm gonna upgrade this over time, but I want it to be able to move if I move apartments, and so this is now like
You could pick that up and move it somewhere else.
I can take it apart. And move it somewhere else.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's not that easy. It's just I can move it. So like it has hinges on the corners that pop out, and I can take the walls down. But now the recent upgrade I did is covered in like sound carpet, and then I put the foam back in. Like I just upgraded over time, because I just couldn't afford $5,000 right out the gate.
Respectable. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But that's because I had a carpenter dad, and so I had that advantage. There are people that don't have that advantage, and so I just couldn't imagine. And so if the industry continues to go this way, the foreseeable problem is that means that there'll be a massive upfront cost. To get into voice acting, because you still have to produce studio quality output in order for them to be able to broadcast it. So I don't think there will ever be a complete and utter like not need for the studio.
Studios are still going to exist, but
but I think that it's upgraded. It's definitely taking the competition up a lot. Like this industry got way more competitive.
I find that very interesting. Yeah, we David and I actually like low key know another voice actor. She went to college with us, and she works down at the one in Houston, which I'm forgetting the name now off the top of my head. Whoa, bad.
I know. No, it's good. I just can't remember their name. It's like I always every time I need to remember it, I can never remember it.
There's a studio down in Houston that also does dub work, and
they're awesome.
She's done a couple projects down there. And she just kind of landed it out of whatever. But it's so interesting that, now you don't really have to be in the place. I think you saying like that the world of dubbing is opening up is like you said, it's good for like viewers. Us as viewers, we potentially can get a higher quality project, having better actors that are out, that aren't having to live in Dallas or around Funimation, that are able to actually put in higher quality work. But I assume as a voice actor, it'd be a bit scary knowing that, now the competition is way elevated because of the actual world that we're all living. Well, not really. I don't really know what we're in right now. We're in the we're in the
breakup phase.
Yeah,
we're in the breakup phase.
Yeah, we're in the whatever you want to call it. So that's really interesting, and I think that a lot of our viewers are going to be really they really want to hear like these sorts of stories about what's happening. Because we on this podcast a lot, we'll talk about news around anime and stuff, because to us, as much as we love the shows, we also really love to know like what's going on with people, the things that are making, how these projects are getting created and ending up in front of us. And so it's always good insight, Corey. So I don't know, David, Kenny, do you guys have any questions for Corey? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a question. So,
What's up?
So something I was curious about, Corey. So I noticed that a lot of voice actors over the course of the pandemic last year they were either with some that were able to were building their own home studios, but a lot of them are also looking into other venues like or other ventures like Twitch, like starting a Twitch channel and starting a community there, or starting a YouTube channel and making content there. So was there anything kind of online that you were doing extra over the course of last year that?
No, because I'm lazy.
Okay. All right.
No, there was. I was like, that was kind of where TikTok came from for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I kind of got burnt out on trying to do long form. As far as like, I used to do like, where I started is I used to do like YouTube and do like a lot of creative YouTube, but the algorithm killed creative YouTube. Like there is no reason to do creative content on YouTube. It's a great way to archive your stuff, but it's not like the algorithm doesn't favor you.
It's not going to push your stuff. Yeah.
It takes a lot more resource. Like, remember like the Corridor Digital days where they were like just producing all these cool special effects videos and like, or Rocket Jump or Freddie Wong. Like those days, like that was creative content YouTube. Like that was back when it was like the algorithm favored shorter videos and it was easier to get a profit and to get like, just like it was just more sustainable to do content of that caliber in that shorter frame. But now that the algorithm favors 15 minutes, it's like, that's hard to do with that kind of like the amount of work that it takes to produce that stuff. Like a single episode. So I did this like Fallout series, and like a single episode of that Fallout series took probably in total 5 days of shooting and editing. And they were real basic and real rudimentary. And it was still 5 days per episode. And if you do 7 episodes, like, and then you get like what, maybe a few thousand views tops.
Yikes.
And it's like, it's just not sustainable.
Right.
And so I just kind of got burnt out on trying to create like content in that way. And then Twitch had taken off, and I don't know, I don't play video games as a job. Like I play,
me neither.
I'm not a good I'm not a good gamer at all. So first of all, I don't have skill to like attract attention. And also like me playing a game is just like, like, you know what I did gaming today? I went back into Fallout 4 and I made like a crazy old man home. That's what I made. Like I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to build a home for like a guy that like stockpiles guns and like shoots at anybody that gets in a mile radius of his house. That's the good. Awesome. And so like I went in and spent like 2 hours building that house. Just a crazy person's house. That's what I do gaming.
I mean, I'd watch that. I mean,
I love that.
Audience for
Where's that content? Crazy gun guy content.
Crazy guy. Yeah, we need his house. Damn it.
Damn it. Why aren't they making it in Minecraft? Okay.
No, but I totally get. And as people who are we're this podcast we posted on YouTube. We all make other content on YouTube, but you're right. Like if you're not making, the algorithm really does favor a very specific type of content. And
like
it's like
consistent, like daily, like.
And type of content when you're uploading, there's like, that's how you can make it now, make profit on YouTube. But if you're not into that, if that's not the type of content you want to make, YouTube should be your last, like don't think about it like that. I have a buddy, he's fantastic at what he does. One of the best, at what he does he does directing, editing stuff. But he tried to make lots of films, things like that on a YouTube channel. And, they're very artsy. They're very specific, yada, yada. He'll get 30 views and he'll be like, Jerry, what the hell? Like, I just worked, 80 hours over the course of 2 weeks on this one short film and I got 30 views. And I'm like,
I make a bunch of people in a room backbend for 15 seconds and I get 2.9 million views, like whatever it is. Like, it's nothing about the internet makes any sense. Like, it's. And so you really have to love what you're doing, and the thing that I love doing doesn't really translate well to social media.
Right.
So
there's a voice actor who works at Funimation. I'm gonna say his name, but you don't have to say any opinions of him. But he has a really big YouTube. Alejandro Saab. He goes by Kagi.
Yeah, I know.
I find his content to be pretty cool. And I think it's really interesting that he his content on YouTube doesn't really relate to his career or what his voice acting. Pretty separate, but I just think that's really interesting when you have like.
But it does totally relate to his career.
It does,
because visibility is half the game.
Right.
Like half the reason why you saw all these.
ProZD also.
Yeah, or like Kyle Phillips has been streaming a lot.
Yep.
And he does.
I watched Sean Shamel play play Kakarot for a while the other day off Twitch, and I was like, what? I was like, does he do this now? I was like, when did this start happening?
Yeah, because it's visibility's half the game. If you're you kind of like have to do that along with being undeniably good. Like the most important thing is being undeniably good, and then the other side of it is just like them knowing you exist.
Owning your personal platform. It's just so interesting to me because I think about like the parallels between the Japanese industry as well. And in Japan, you know, voice actors, to my understanding, or at least us as American, it seems like they're rock stars.
Mm-hmm. They are.
And it's like that, you know, you being in an anime is like a peak. You know, that's what you want to do in Japan. And so it's very interesting to see the parallel to where here I don't think that it's maybe growing. It's growing is the word I would use.
It's growing for sure.
A lot more people who are building into these communities around some of these amazing.
We have the same. We have something that's the same. It's just because it's made there. Like it's the equivalent of being in Pixar movies.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's true. There's like a peak to what it is here. Yeah, I guess I never thought.
Yeah, the peak here is like being in a Pixar film or being in a Marvel IP.
Yeah,
like that is the peak. And so that's just their version of it.
Yes. And so I find it very interesting. And I think that for sure, though, in the last couple of years, from our perspective as fans, we've just seen such a mass. I don't know. And maybe you feel this too, Corey, but like, do you feel like in the last like 2 or 3 there's been so many new anime fans in the world? I don't know. Like,
anime is something happened. Because you know that it's getting big when the bigger big like corporate America starts getting involved.
Yeah,
right.
Because like I'm pretty sure you all, since you watch the anime news, Sony acquired Funimation and then acquired Crunchyroll.
Yep.
And it's like whenever big money starts getting involved, you know something is taking off because then corporate America's like, well, I want my piece.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Netflix has put in like. Netflix has put in so much money into their newer anime
content.
Their anime content has started to really be a big part of doing now.
I think it's what's going to save their platform since Disney left them. I thought Disney was going to losing Disney was going to like undercut Netflix, but then they created their own studio and they're crushing it there. And I think what's sustaining them is producing high quality nerd content like The Witcher.
Yep.
And anime like. Acquiring anime IPs and dubbing them as well as they're doing.
Yeah,
it's cool to see the
you know, we gotta pour one out for our homies B-Stars still in Netflix jail.
Yeah, Corey, we have this running joke because Netflix likes to, instead of release it weekly like Funimation, putting out the content as it comes out or on Crunchyroll, they like to hold the whole season and then like 2 or 3 months after they put it up for streaming instead of giving it weekly content, which a lot of us anime fans have just gotten so used to. You know, we're so used to just getting the episodes subbed right as they come out. So it's weird, like when Netflix is like, B-Stars season 2 isn't going to come out until,
why they do that?
It comes on Saturday.
You know why they do that?
Why? I actually don't know.
It's because most of the viewership of Netflix is they binge watch. Binge watch. And so they find that they lose more viewers if they were because they did it for a while where they would do like an episodic
there were some weekly content. They did,
but it doesn't sell as well as like just releasing it all at once, and because most of people that are on Netflix are going to binge watch. They're just going to have it on and they're going to binge watch. So they just know their audience. That's what it is. Yeah. That's the strategy there is they know their audience.
I mean, and genuinely, some anime are, I feel like, perfectly bingeable.
Better binge watch. Yeah, there's some bingeable anime.
12 solid episodes, and that's it. Like, you know.
Yeah. Some of them are great.
Like Regular Ragnarok was really good to binge.
Oh, I love
yeah.
It was easy to binge. I loved binging Erased. I watched it all in one go. I thought sit down and watch
Miss Kobayashi's was really good.
Binge. Oh, you ready for season 2, Kenny?
I just binged it, bro. Yes.
No, I know. But that's really interesting. I think that it's just interesting to think about of the content, but also just how many people are into it now. Like this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, Corey, and I have people that have told me recently, like, I became an anime fan on June 19th, 2020. You know, like that's like they have like an anime fan. And I've been having multiple and it's like I'm like, whoa, that's a weird thing to say out loud. Like I'm isn't that? Yeah. Like I don't know. It's like the date. So
why do you know that?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
I don't remember when.
We've just been watching. I feel like for like Kenny and I, we've been watching anime since our dad was into it, and our older brother was into it. So it was like from pretty much the day we were small children, we just always watched anime. We had it in the house. My dad would make sure to show us the stuff. He'd get it on DVD.
March 8th, 1998.
Yeah, so it must have been, whatever. No,
Wait,
whenever.
What was that? But what was that number? Wait a second. Pause.
That's the day he read Vampire Night. No, I'm just.
Oh my God, not Vampire Night.
It's just very interesting to me that way people are associating with the fandom now, the way people are getting engaged with the fandom, content around anime and manga, even like on YouTube and stuff is blowing up really a lot. People are engaging in it a lot more all of a sudden. One of the biggest podcasts on YouTube, right? Anime folks. They're anime-tubers that do a podcast as well, and it's very interesting to me that we're seeing kind of this boom, this surge. I don't know what to call it. I wouldn't call it a resurgence because I don't know if it ever had like. It slowly climbed, and then it just it has blown up.
It's more like it's going into like its golden age. Like
yeah.
It's had a bronze age and a silver age. Like silver age is like when the big three really rose to power. Like you have Naruto,
yes.
and God forbid Bleach.
Bleach.
You want to hear me give a hot take?
Please,
we love roasting. Let me go
Bleach.
In on Bleach.
We love roasting Bleach.
I think the reason why Bleach pisses me off as much as it does is because it's beautiful. Animation is so fantastic. The art style is so fresh and original, and the story is just a steaming pile of fucking garbage. It's just some 15-year-old Neanderthal just crapped out their OC character, and it's Ichigo Kurosaki. Oh God, I hate Bleach.
Yo, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful take.
We always say Tite Kubo, like his art is like amazing.
He just needs to link up with an author.
This is like his
story like a solved issue in manga, okay?
Yeah. Or just link. He could have better writing if he went and found a college graduate from some third-rate. Like B-town Arkansas college that barely is literate. Just have him look over your work before you put it out there.
No,
I mean he's not wrong.
Funny,
he's not wrong.
We totally agree. That's what's crazy is we roast Bleach so hard on this podcast.
It's so stupid.
That's so funny. You jumped in.
We love it. We roast it because we love it. We roast it because
I love any story that's like, you know what? He's special because he's a human and a Shinigami. Next season, he's a human and a Shinigami and a Hollow. Next season, he's a human Shinigami Hollow Fullbringer. Next season, guess what? His mom was a Quincy. He's a human Hollow Fullbringer.
Dude,
Quincy.
How accurate is that? Okay, so every episode,
and he's a Super Saiyan.
Holy shit.
You pushed Kenny out.
You kicked him out. It was too much.
I'm joking. It
was too much for Kenny.
That's hilarious.
Stupid.
That's so funny, dude. Because
right then,
for Bleach, but it's so weird to see Bleach.
That's all of Bleach. I mean, you just explained all of Bleach. Like
I've tried to introduce people to it now, and it's just like they can't do it. They're like, Jerry, why are you making me watch Bleach?
There's
and I'm like,
two things that keep it from dying, which is the Urokoi fight, is one of the greatest anime
beautiful
fights of
animation.
all time. Beautiful animation. The stakes are there. It's awesome. And that's the thing. That's another reason why it's such a shitty anime. Is that fight is better than the final boss fight. His fight with Aizen is garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty
so
garbage.
Dumb.
It's so edgy.
Come on, he stays in the tunnel too long, and he got older, and then he swings his sword. What do you mean?
Hyperbolic time chamber. Haven't done that before.
Yo,
it was pretty original. It was pretty original.
It was it was okay. It was okay. No big deal. Although I don't know if you've seen it.
Like the lead character has like all the personality of a paper bag. Like he's just like edgy for edgy's sake.
He's lame.
Like
he's
I
the
feel
Master
like people. He's just quiet. Yeah. Honestly, I made my wife watch Bleach, and she has struggled, and she can't. We're at like episode 200, and she's pretty much given up at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure we're ever gonna finish it. But I've seen it all, but I'm not sure she's gonna ever.
I'm so sorry to go in on your favorite anime, my dude.
No,
it's
your favorite anime,
it deserves
Jared.
that.
not my favorite. Jesus Christ, no.
Bleach
No,
so
I do
much,
not
bro.
love Bleach.
I get it, bro. You know,
will
you
say
just love
though,
Bleach. You and
Corey,
Bleach
did
just
you
love
watch
each
the
other.
Did you watch the new So Kubo put out a new thing. It was called Burn the Witch.
Burn
Have
the
you been
Witch.
it came out last year. Okay, so the only thing they released was like a film essentially. So if you ever have a chance, sit down and watch. I got to give Kubo props that at least in the story writing department, he has definitely created better main characters and a little bit of a better story structure than he has.
Yeah, but he set the
Bleach,
bar
though.
so low for himself. Like he could have walked over that bar.
So this is definitely a step in the right direction. So I have
He
hope.
didn't have
We have
to
hope.
jump. He still could be on his like riding rascal and made it over that bar. That bar was so stupid low. Like he could have done anything. It's like, oh, does the character smile once? Sweet. It's a better story. He's more three-dimensional.
He's so right.
It's so sad but so true. It's so sad but so true. It's so sad but so true.
Yeah.
But yes, I definitely agree. We're in a golden age of anime. I mean, there's no way around it. With shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, they're all just
Demon
leading
Slayer.
the pack. Yeah. You loved
That
it?
show is such a breath of fresh air. Like it's a small cast where you just develop a relationship with a small cast.
Yep.
It is beautiful. The art style is. Now I do have like one complaint about it.
Oh,
but
naturally. Yeah, I think
I just want to explain to me whether or not the magic is happening or not. Like, is the water stuff happening
behind him? Like, is that happening?
Is the water stuff happening in the reality, or is it more figurative?
Well,
like I've always
like it's never
the same question, Corey. I have
yeah,
no
like
idea.
throughout the series,
the blood demon art's got to be real, right?
they're real. Yeah,
they
we
gotta
see them
be,
physically affect the world, and we see the characters interact with it. But you never see anybody but the character using it actually interact. The only time is the thunder clap that what is his name? Tanjiro hears. Tanjiro hears. Zenitsu, whenever Zenitsu uses his flash step.
Yes.
Which that's what it is to me.
Yes.
It's flash step.
It is.
When he does that, he says like, "Oh, I heard a thunderclap," but he doesn't say he sees anything. Like you never see the lightning. They never talk about seeing the lightning. They never talk about seeing the water. And so, like, I don't know if it's real or if it's just like figurative. I don't know.
It's like you see it around them, but they're really just cutting each other with swords. It's just like for visual effect. I've always
like whenever the flame.
yeah.
So have you guys all seen the movie, right?
Yes, we did. Yes, we talked
when
about
the flame
it on the show,
Hashira uses his fire in the train. Nothing catches fire or stays caught fire.
Right.
Yeah,
like
that's
it just
true.
destroys the demon stuff, but nothing stays
Nothing's
on
on
fire.
fire. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like if it was real, wouldn't something at least like anime loves to just light things on fire and keep them on fire.
Yeah.
Like that's an anime staple. So why? So I still don't know. So I need that. I need that.
I actually don't know either. I would love.
We
to
need
figure
answers.
out.
Demon Slayer. Is the magic real?
Is the magic real?
The human magic
in
is
the
the
comments.
human
Tell us
magic
in the
real. We know the
comments.
demon magic is real.
Right.
Is the
Did you
human
like
magic
the movie a lot, Corey?
Oh, I love.
Did you
Well, I loved and hated it. I loved
Okay.
it. It was a great film. I hated that they introduced me to my new favorite character and then immediately killed him.
kill them? Yes.
No, not Rengoku. Oh my
I
god.
feel like rolling the Rengoku like that. I mean, just
They did him
it's
so dirty.
yeah.
Bro. Don't you
And,
love the
now I'm just gonna have this
conversation,
expectation of his brother, like because that's what they're doing. They're
Yes.
gonna totally bring in his brother, and then he's gonna
Right.
join Team Tanjiro, and that's gonna be.
Team Tanjiro. I'm excited for the new season for sure. I think that the movie got me exhilarated about. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Now I'm about to say
Demon Slayer time.
I think the introduction and all the Hashira's introductions are very cool and very I don't know.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so you're gonna love all of them, is what that means.
No,
Yeah.
you're gonna hate one of them. One of them you're definitely gonna hate, and I think that like they wrote him well, like to have somebody that we like hate.
There's
like,
one Hashira you have to hate.
Yeah,
That's
they're like,
funny.
what is it? The one that stabs Nezuko, like.
The Stone Hashira.
Okay. We'll see. I'm excited though.
Yeah.
I think that what makes Demon Slayer has just been just the UFO Table's gorgeous production on that show is absolutely fucking top. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Top.
there's just no,
Top.
like, wow. Have you seen Jujutsu Kaisen also, which is kind of the new?
You know what's weird
hotness?
is that I've been hanging out with. So I've recently like developed a friendship and like hanging out a lot with one of the voice actors from Jujutsu Kaisen, Panda's voice actor.
Oh yeah.
And I have not seen the show, and I have not seen the show.
Oh, Corey.
I've heard so much about and what's weird is I've heard so much about it from a really strange source, which is my wife.
Oh,
so my wife is super into anime. Well, it's weird. So whenever I met her and I started dating her, she was like a closet weeb, where she wasn't fully embracing it. Now that once she got with me and once she married me, she is just like full on fly out. She's super into Demon Slayer, but she's like really into like obscure animes. Like a lot of times. Like she just recently watched that one that's on Netflix right now. That's the Filipino anime.
Tresse,
yeah, Tresse. She watched that, which was a wild story. It was a wild ride.
I've heard mixed stuff, but I haven't watched it yet. I want to try it.
I would say it's pretty good. I would give it like a B as far as in like it was interesting enough that I would give it a B as far as anime is concerned. Like it was interesting enough that it pulled me in, even though I didn't see like the start. And any anime that's good enough at all times for it to like pull my attention from another room is good. And then the art styles, the art styles where it loses some of its grade, where it's like I feel like you can definitely tell that they don't have an animation community in the Philippines or wherever it's from. I think it's the Philippines.
Yes, I think you're right.
Because it's real wonky. Like the animation's real wonky and real kind of feels kind of college-esque in some regards, like especially during the fight scenes. You can kind of see some of the imperfections, and they've done a real good job of like hiding it to where it looks like it's stylized that way. But as someone who's consumed an obscene amount of anime, I'm like, no, this just seems like you just don't have the funding.
You're like kind of like off model.
Yeah, everything looks a little off. That's funny. That's very interesting.
But it's only in the fighting. Like everything else looks. I think that's what makes it so jarring. Is like anything that's not fighting looks really good and really like up to standard. But then once you get into the fighting, like there's two characters that basically like float around statically. Like their arms and legs aren't moving, and like it really looks janky.
Like T-posing.
Yeah, like they drew one cell and then just like moved it around. It looks real jank, and that's in the final fight. Like that's in the final fight of the season. It looks jank, and I'm like, woof, bro, woof.
Wow, that's wild. Well, definitely got to check it out. But
she the story. The end of the story is she just like looks up what's popular on Reddit. Like she goes through Reddit and figures out like what's leading, so she knows what to consume next. And Jujutsu Kaisen is in there. Yeah, apparently it's just like crushing it right now.
Yeah. It's like sort of the. I mean, it's like the second coming of Demon Slayer is kind of what Demon Slayer had this massive worldwide phenomenon that is. Everybody was on it, and it was selling out everywhere. And Slayer was, making these massive milestones. Anime broke the box office record for anime films, like all this stuff. And now Jujutsu Kaisen is replicating that. Also having these enormous sales and undeniably like unmatched. And now it's having it. It had a great first.
I'm not hearing.
Jerry, you're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Okay, is my
you lean too far away?
So I think I got too far back. Okay. Am I back in?
You're good.
You can hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Beside the point, all I'm saying, JJK, it's blowing up. And if you haven't checked it out, I think you'd have a blast. If you like Demon Slayer, I think you'll like Jujutsu Kaisen as well.
I'm
very
already
similar style.
I'm already like obligated to watch it now.
You know Panda, so you have to.
Yeah, I feel like
I know Panda.
I'm not saying. Yeah. Now that you know Panda, I'm like you would have to pay. Yeah. Okay, boys, what are you thinking?
I think I have one last question.
Yeah, sure.
And Corey, you can let us know if you can answer this.
If you can answer this.
But so from the anime that you've seen that hasn't been dubbed yet, are there any like shows or characters that are kind of like a dream dub for you?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like a dream
if you can answer it, yeah.
Because there's a lot of anime out there that
it's
hasn't
like
been
all
dubbed
of the
yet,
roles,
so.
all the roles that I would want, like I really would want, have already been like cast. Like I like.
Right.
I can tell you this because they've already cast it. I like auditioned for Jiren. I was one of the ones that got to audition for Jiren.
Wow.
And so I thought that would have been super cool to get to be him.
Jiren's an awesome character, by the way.
yeah,
So it's like
because like
I do love Jiren.
Demon Slayer records out of LA, so there's nothing like I can't really get any of those. I'm trying to think.
Oh,
of
I
how much
forgot
more.
about that.
I've auditioned for a particular arc in a very popular anime.
Okay.
If I could get one of the main villains from that rogue gallery would be really cool, but they've already started announcing one of them, so I'm assuming I didn't get it, but I just need Colleen Klinkenbeard to notice me.
I wonder which
it's so awful. Like it's funny every time I go in and record with her, I always like I always like freak out. Like just like I'm like so I don't know if they've ever gotten to talk about it, but there's like a hierarchy at Funimation. So you start out doing Walla. Which is like all the background stuff of like crowds talking. So you're usually in a group and you do that. And then you move up to bits and Walla, and then you move up to bits, then you move up to one-off characters, then you move up to supporting characters, and then eventually once you make it, you get a lead character. And I've actually done a lead character before, but it was in a show that had no fan base, which was Stand My Hero's Piece of Truth, which is a reverse harem show based off of a mobile game. So it was...
Yeah, I'd never heard of that one.
Exactly. It's generally its audience are female because it's a reverse harem, so it's a bunch of dudes and one girl. And it was it had a really short-lived flash in the pan kind of lifespan. But
that's so cool.
So I've actually done like a main role, and then I have Yona in Fire Force. But like the thing that I'm most proud of is like tiny roles in My Hero. Like I'm like a dude that dies immediately. I'm like a villain during the Airy raid. Like I'm just like one guy that's like I throw like needles off of a bush. Like I'm like who cares? That's all I say. That's all I say.
Yeah.
Who cares? And then I'm the warden
so cool.
watching over. I'm the warden watching over All for One. Where he's like he moved on this moment. It's like in the latest episode. It's like he moved at this time. Note it. And they're like yeah we will. And so
wait, but when
that's
awesome.
That's so awesome.
To me, like,
that's
it's like,
awesome.
but the thing is
so
like
cool.
every time you record, because like it's a flagship show, so every time you record, it's like an
right.
And so every time I get in with Colleen, I start freaking out.
Man,
because
That's
I'm
true.
like there's two things happening. It's like this is the flagship show, so I'd already be freaking out because this is like I'm now like showing what I can do, and then two, I'm a huge fanboy of My Hero. So I'm in My Hero. Like losing my shit, and
that's fantastic. That's so awesome. Though. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you luck, obviously, as you continue to progress.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's been so awesome to just hear all this, just what you. I mean, it sounds like a very fun experience that you've been able to really cultivate. Are you excited to be doing improv shows in person again? Like, does that make you excited? I was just thinking about that. I was like, how are you feeling about that?
Oh, I love it. Like, so one of the things I was going to talk about if it ever came up was just like, I think the pandemic did one thing good in my mind, and they did it for the anime community because in 2019, before the pandemic, the kind of the vibe on the con floor in the community was really toxic, like super like because I kind of grew up in like I got introduced to cons in 2009. I kind of grew up in the golden age of cosplay where cosplay was becoming popular. You had all these like outbreak stars like Yaya Han. Like I knew Yaya Han before she was Yaya.
I remember.
And like it was just like you would go to a con like in 2009 and 2010 and so on. You go to a con and everybody was just excited to be there. Like cons, like cosplays that were either made in the closet or just like made by hand. Like they got the same amount of attention. Like, oh my gosh, you're Elle, and Elle's a lazy cosplay.
Right. Pretty much.
But like people had the same fervency. They were like, oh my gosh, you're Elle, that's awesome. And then like as and the same fervency to somebody like put all this effort in. But like in 2019 and like late stage cosplay, it was just like people were criticizing, like people could make wonderful works of mechanical art as cosplays, and then somebody would just start like shitting on them. And like, it's not accurate. They never wore this. You're not the right color. Like,
there was a lot of mess with
vitriol. Just
I remember.
Vitriol.
We call those gatekeepers.
Yeah,
the gatekeepers.
So much gatekeeping on everything in anime.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and they all got locked in their houses. And all of a sudden, something reset. And coming out of the pandemic, we have 4 times as many. So now there's 4 times as many voices that are like for anime, and so the gatekeepers are a lot quieter because there's just so few of them comparatively to the amount of fans. And then just the fans, like, so I did a con like 4 weeks ago, and the vibe on the floor is different. Like people are just excited, like, oh my god, your cosplay is awesome. Sometimes they're not even in fucking cosplay; they're just pointing at people. And I was like, this is what I miss. Like this right here, like one of the things I've never seen. So at this con, every single one of the panels were full attended. Every single one. Wow. Like when a panel was going on at the con, the floor cleared. They were like the dealer's room, everything cleared. Like they would just go to these panels, even if they didn't know if they liked it or not. Like we had a writing panel, which I don't know why they booked one of our writing panels. It's my least favorite, but this con booked one of our writing panels, and we're just in there, and like we have a full room. We've never had a full room for a writing panel, never. And like, and they're just sitting there like
starstruck, just
like we love anime.
Teach me.
I'm assuming I'm gonna like this because I am outside, and so it was awesome. It was just great. Yeah, I think the pandemic did one good thing, which it was kind of a weird, hard reset for the community.
And lots of new fans that are trying to come out to these things and want to be involved and love. You know, they fell in love with anime while they were stuck at home, and now they want to get out and see what it's all about. And I just went to what? Can you hear me?
We lost you again.
Like, shit. My damn mic.
Just got
Blue Yeti. I'm like, damn this Blue Yeti. But I just went to Kamehacon this last weekend. And so it was a blast, and I was I went in with no expectation, and I still had an amazing time. You know, it was still just a great time. So many cosplayers, some great vendor booths. I mean, some really fun panels as well. And I literally had the time of my life. I got an opportunity to sit down with Elise Bauman for a moment.
Elise, I love Elise.
So I sat down with her. Her and I started talking, and I asked her, I might be able to get her on this podcast. Fingers crossed. She said she'd be willing. Yeah, so I sat and talked to her for a while I was there, and she has such great insight, and just mainly because I'm an event planner in my day job, and she helped to put Kamehacon on. And so I was asking her all this stuff, how did this go? What's how's it been? And it was really awesome to learn that. But then also she's a voice actor and she coaches and all this stuff. So I had a really great interaction. It felt like it was a small con, and I think that's what I liked about it. It felt like a small con. Everyone felt really familiar. So it was just weird because it's really the first con I've been to since the pandemic started. You know, I'd gone to maybe A-Fest before, like right before the pandemic, and but then I hadn't gone to a while to anything, and then so it was a really cool experience to be back out on the floor and doing it again. And I'm right there with you, and hopefully David, Kenny, and we can come see you do improv sometime soon.
I'll be at A-Con. I'll be at A-Con again next year.
I got
you. I do shows here in this. If you all live here, I do shows in the city.
We do.
We do. So we're gonna have to come. We're gonna have to roll out to something and come see you, because I mean, I've seen you multiple times before I knew you. Now I know you a lot better, but before this, I've actually seen you perform multiple times. Weirdly enough, is that a weird? Have you ever heard?
Was it a good?
No,
no, it's not weird.
It's come up a lot. Okay, good.
It comes up a lot, and it comes up in one of two weird ways. Like it's either this way, which is awesome. This is my favorite way, but I've also been in a kid show for like 10 years, and so sometimes it's like kids that have grown up with me or their parents, and that's always
wow.
It's always super weird because it's like, what?
No, yeah. And yes, your shows are always great. I think that I wish I could remember. All the other guys and girls that are on the group of people that are on your Take One, they have always put on a hell of a show. Is all I'll say. And I've always had a good time watching you guys perform. And that's been a blast every time I've been able to see it. Mainly at anime conventions, but That's really cool. But
yeah, improv is hard too. So
improv's hella hard, and I totally know that. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but
I think it's hard.
I just don't think you were taught by the right person. That's always my.
That's about fair. Maybe I'll sign up for some of your classes.
Yeah,
come on, David.
Maybe we'll roll out all three of us. 20 classes.
Dude, there's nothing better for podcasting than improv.
Right.
Because then you can
I think it would be so much fun.
You guys are already good at like sharing space and sharing attention. Like you already got most of the fundamentals. It's just
look at that.
So there you go.
We're yes-anding. So
I think we're kind of funny sometimes too. No,
I think so.
I don't know about that one.
Especially when we're going on a bit about how terrible Bleach is.
Fuck Bleach.
Man, swords are so cool though, right?
Swords are so cool.
Yeah,
you know,
especially when it's wielded by an emotionless turd.
Little walking scarecrow. Okay, so this has been great, Corey. We've had a blast having you on and on.
Yep.
Just
fantastic time.
Can't commend you enough, and it's always fun to hear people's perspectives on all this stuff. If you is there anything is there anything you wanted to say that you thought might be funny, or any other anecdotes or stories about voice acting, anime, so on and so forth that we didn't hit that you think would be funny to share now with people that might be listening?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. Like there's so many things in the moment I could think of.
Yeah.
Like at one point during the conversation, I was like, "Oh, I should tell him how I met Toph recently and got to party with her."
Oh, that's a good story. Wait, that's a hella good story.
Toph fun. Come on.
Now I feel like we have to hear that story. I'm like,
oh man, she is. It was wild, but like. So it's like I'm trying to figure out in my mind like the version of the story that I can tell, because there's like definitely aspects of the story that can never see the light of day. Like
Yeah,
it's just, like,
right.
Stuff
Understandable.
But there was like so many wild things that happen.
right.
But I'll tell you how I ended up meeting her.
Yeah.
So we were all at this con. So it's our first con back out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And we finished our show. We had a full house in the main stage. It was awesome. It was a wicked good show, though. It was a weird show because the audiences. One thing I will say is audiences don't remember how to be audiences anymore because we've been by ourselves. And you don't watch a show like you watch a live show. Mm-hmm. Like if you ever actually like had a video taken of you like watching something you find funny, and like you're still small, you don't laugh out loud. You're just like, huh.
Yeah.
Or it's like a weird like singular punctuated one where like ha ha.
Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah, like everybody does it. That's how you are when you're private. That's your natural like resting, like enjoying entertainment. That's what people are like. And so they've been like that for a year. And now they're doing it in front of other people. And so like I had to like prompt them on like, okay, we can cheer now. Like we can like, because you could tell like they were having the time. It reminded me of this show I did in Hawaii once. You want to do a weird comedy show? Go do a comedy show in Hawaii.
Okay.
All right.
Because Hawaiians don't get super excitable. They're not like a really excitable people. Like they don't.
Yeah.
They're not rowdy like mainlanders are.
Yeah.
Right.
And so like we had like 300 people at our first show at the show in Hawaii, and like the best we could get was like. like the prime symptom of it was this like big guy front and center, and he's just sitting there and he's like huge and he's just the entire time I thought we were bombing. So I left that show and I thought we had bombed, and that guy walks up to me, he's like a head taller than me, he's like, "That was really funny, man. That was a really funny show." And I was like, "You could have told me during."
Could have cheered, could have laughed.
You could have
some feedback.
It's like what?
And and so I knew the show did well because the second show, the next day had like an additional like 100 people. Like we went up in number, and so. And it was the same thing. You could tell all the mainlanders in the room because they were the only ones being like, ha, ha, ha! Like just like laughing out loud and clapping out loud. Like, like it was super weird. And so that was what this show was like. So I remembered my Hawaiian days. So I was like, all right, I can handle this. And so we did. We went back to our rooms and I'm just exhausted. And we got invited to a room party for like this other guest. And so I was like, I'm going to go there. And I met a Feywild being.
Okay.
So Okay, so if I tell this part of the story, I won't be able to promote this on my social media because I don't want some of my clients finding it.
Right.
But
Okay.
I met a Feywild being. For those of you that are play D&D, you know what I'm talking about. They're like crazy like demigods, and I swear that this chick was a crazy demigod.
Okay.
Because I walk into the room and she's like a Reddit comment section by herself, and she's going and she's having an art, but she's arguing all sides. She's all Reddit comments, all by herself. She's having like a full-blown debate with herself, but like every third line is about the good dick. And I'm just like, I can't even figure out what to riff on because she's moving at a million. And then she's like making this trash can punch in the ice bucket of this room that's not hers. She's just
Who is this person?
Took this alcohol, just started like trash can punching it, and is drinking it out of this like ice bucket in this room. And she's just going on about like random stuff, like the weird left and weird like conservative right stuff. Like she's going off the wall, and then like every other line's like, yeah, but you just got to get that good dick, am I right? And, like just going on.
This needs to be like a YouTube skit. I need to see this.
And I am just exhausted. And so I can't even and so I'm just sitting there in there, and this room is weird. Like they're playing Mortal Kombat. One girl's watching like Dallas Fuel, and then this chick is just in the center of it all, being a train wreck. And so I was just stunned. And so I leave and I look out. I look into the other room, and there's people doing biology homework. Then I go out into the hallway. Down the hallway, somebody's having like a domestic thing. I don't know. And then I go back into my room, and I'm like, guys, you need to go across the hallway.
No, you're like, you will not believe me if you don't go see it. So you have to get up. I'm sorry.
So my wife and one of my other teammates are like, okay, we're gonna go, and then they start getting ready. I was like, no, you don't have time. She could phase out at any moment. Like she could just phase out of existence at any moment. I need you to go now. And so I kicked them out of the room to go across the hallway, and they go, and the guy opens the door, and he's like, oh, they left. They're gone. And I was like, I knew it. He's like, they're down at the rave. And so we're like, and so my wife and pals were like, we're going to the rave. And so we go to the rave. So we go to the rave, chasing this Feywild being. Yeah. So we get down there. It's super weird. They're playing like children's music, like super weird.
Always weird. It's always weird.
So we're like, this is lame. So then the con director walks up and it's like, hey, we owe you guys drinks. Follow us. So then we go. And we end up
there you
at this like semi-private party at the bar. It's weird, but all the guests are there, and Toph's there. So I sit down at this table, and Toph and her exceptionally, unbelievably attractive boyfriend is there.
Whoa!
And this guy is like meeting a full-blown like high elf type character. Like he's just everything about him is pristine and perfect, and he's like a ray of sunshine. He makes you feel like you're the most important human being that's ever spoken anything.
Wow.
Like he just, and he also looks weirdly like Jared Padalecki. Like he's like, it's really just. It was the experience. Like my wife leans over and she goes, "I think he's more attractive than you." And I was like, oh, I know he is.
I know that feel.
Like, oh, I know he is. Yeah. And so he starts talking with us, and Toph's like, and she's just crass. And she's like, hey, I'm in a kid show. I have to be like that for most of my life. She's just going off, slamming drinks back. That's so amazing. One of my other teammates sits down next to us, and he's kind of drunk, and he starts like doubling down on a bit he shouldn't have. Like you ever double down on a joke?
Yes.
And he clears the table. Everybody leaves. But he summons the Feywild being. She returns. And I don't even know what happened. She starts having a full-on devotional prayer to the good dick in the middle of this bar. That is how I met the voice actress of Toph Beifong was chasing a Feywild being.
And
all comes back.
And now we're like,
that is
and now
golden.
We're friends and stuff.
No, that's great.
That is
It all dates back to the good dick. That's what it's all about, everyone.
Yeah, that is. That's where truly the base root of this.
So weird. If you chase the good dick, you'll meet someone interesting.
You know? Yeah.
That's what it's all
You'll
about.
meet your heroes,
Wow.
Jason.
Holy shit! What an amazing story.
It was so
great story.
I couldn't make up any of that. Like it was such a bizarre. Like,
I'm like imagining it in my head. I'm like, I need to see like a show like inspired off of this or something.
Yeah, this
or,
is
like,
a beautiful series. That's oh
like,
my
the,
god.
the world needs to know this.
You want a PS of this? She phased out of existence again to where they like lost track of her. So like her roommate was at a booth the next morning, and I'm hungover, and I guess someone she was staying with was like the handler of my buddy Matt Rudd, who's Panda in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
And she was sitting there and she's like, yeah, we don't know what happened to her. She just disappeared. We haven't found her yet.
Was she real?
Did she even exist?
Maybe she got good dicked out of existence, dude.
She appeared at 1 o'clock. Like apparently she just showed back up. So I'm thoroughly convinced that she was just like she's a summoned being. She was just going back to her plane.
Oh, I love that so
Wow.
much. Okay, that's
That's
fantastic. That was great. Corey, that was a great story to close this out.
Yeah, great.
I think
the best story I've ever heard on this podcast.
For all
Hands
the viewers
down.
that make it to the end of this podcast, this is the absolute treat of the podcast, right there. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, Corey. We loved having you. I mean, just an absolute joy to talk with and learn more about everything. So thank you so much. For those of you listening at home, thank you so much for listening. We love being able to put out episodes for you guys. Developed a small but mighty fan base that has been coming back to our that, and we're putting out content like we do. So make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe, do all the wonderful stuff. Hit us over on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on all of your favorite podcast platforms as well, because giving us any sort of follow, like, all that good stuff is going to help the podcast to continue to grow. So thank you guys for listening. This is the Uncensored Anime Podcast, and we're saying peace.